Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this night's interview. Now, concerns over the treatment of Georgian activist Nino Datashvili have drawn international attention, with UN officials raising questions about her detention and a decision to order a psychiatric evaluation. Human rights groups see troubling signals while authorities cite procedural grounds. What does this case reveal about the climate for dissent and political opposition in Georgia today? Joining us on TVP World is Mamuka Andguladze, chair of the Media Advocacy Coalition and expert on civil rights in the region. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning, and thank you for covering this issue and for raising the issue among your audiences, given the current situation, what's taking place in Georgia right now.
Right, so definitely a lot to unpack here. And well, can you give us a little background? What do we know so far about Nino Datashvili's case? Psychiatric evaluation has gone ahead?
First of all, this is not the ordinary the order of the court to conduct the psychiatric check. It's like Soviet heritage, so-called punitive psychiatry, where the Soviet regime, the Russian regime, used psychiatry to punish activists, to punish those who campaign and promote human rights. It's the same as with Nino Datashvili, who is a known activist and has been detained for baseless charges, and she faces up to 7 years. So years ago, she had back pains, and she still suffers from that. And it's one of the symptoms when you have a back pain, you have feeling not quite well, and this was in her paper. And the court ordered, during Soviet time, to conduct forcible psychiatric check. However, the issue became known to the general public. There was a huge outcry, huge criticism, come not from the activists or human rights defenders, but also from the independent and unbiased professionals. Due to the public pressure, due to the international pressure, they have not conducted typical psychiatric examination. Forcible examination is used to do during Soviet time, but literally sneaking the representatives of psychiatry from government authorities into the cell and conduct the interview in a way that even the Nino could not understand what's happening. And when she asked, should I call my lawyers? His answer was, it's not necessary. So the attempt is to put pressure on her, psychological pressure, at the same time to sell the issue to the general public. Look, therefore, to use this term, but this person is not psychologically healthy, crazy person. The rhetoric, the tactics, the methodologies, unfortunately for me and for my country, typically is the same as Soviet Union using against human rights defenders and activists. We have a long list of activists during Soviet time, not only in Georgia, in other post-Soviet countries when Russian regime, Soviet regime was used similar tactics. Nino is one of the brilliant person who is for many years defending human rights. She's quite active, and she was in the court attending court hearing, and without any reasonable reasons and objective reasons, she was forced to leave the courtroom. And during these cases, she was defending herself, and after that, she was charged attacking the public officials, and she faced up to 7 years imprisonment for nothing. But unfortunately, it's the first time we have around 60 political prisoners right now, and Nino is one of them.
All right, so can we take a step back and help us understand what is Nino's what kind of activism she engaged in to warrant these type of treatment?
Nino is known for her active positions, and she has been always on the right side of history, of the Georgian history. She's protesting from the first day along with other activists. And since November, not every day, as activists and citizens protesting and closing the road. And she attended the court hearing. Right now is going dozens of court hearing against political prisoners. And there are a lot of footage how the guards, law enforcement bodies inside court hearing are behaving, how they're pushing, insulting, threatening. So was a participant of the court hearing, and she was there. She was standing in the corridor, and she was forced. She was by pushing was asked to leave the courtroom, and when she was asking, so what's the order? What's the rule? I have to leave the corridor. And one of the reasons in the recent months, the Georgian Dream Authority has adopted literally dozens of repressive laws. And right now you cannot go to the court and make an audio video recording, despite the fact during the last years the court was open. At least you could, it was not independent court, but at least the general public could see what's happening. After this and other incidents, the court is closed right now for the journalists for audio video recording. And after this incident, when she was defending herself, and it was like some kind of chaotic situation, several days later, she was detained and was charged attack against public officials, and she faced between 7 years imprisonment. She's in a good spirit, despite the fact she's not in a good conditions. She has a severe back pain. She receives medicines, and the Georgian Dream authorities using her condition as a health problem, that she's not in a good mental health, and ordered the court to conduct this. When it became known, as I described, there was a literally huge outcry at domestic and international level, and this pressure forced them not to conduct this forcible at the psychiatric center, government county center examination. However, they sneaked literally into the cell and conducts interview, some kind of issue, even without explaining what's going on there. So, however, the Georgian Dream propaganda is targeting others, and their aim is, like the Soviet Union, to show during the Soviet Union that this person has a psychological problem, which is not true. And plus, this is also stigma against a person who really suffering from health issues, mental health issues, and this is a big problem we're facing right now.
All right, like you mentioned, UN as well as other observers has raised concern over the issue, and this is becoming a quite high-profile case, both domestic and abroad. And you're telling us that the Georgian Dream Party has been trying to, in a sense, cover it up. But how do you think it's going to go forward, and how are the Georgian authorities responding to these concerns?
Like in all cases, trying to. So one issue is making public statements and pretending that everything they're behaving in accordance with the law, which is not true. But in reality, if you want to really understand what's the real aim and goal, you have to follow the media news, propaganda narratives, and the statement of the representatives. And they showed her as a criminal, as a violent person, and at the same time, these so-called fake news troll factories and their representative so-called experts shows that she has mental issue. Regarding the future, this is we are right now in resistance against the Russian regime. The country is occupied, 20% of the country is occupied, and the Georgian Dream, unfortunately, they're supporting the Kremlin regime to occupy the rest, 80%. We were so close with the European integration, and absolute majority of the Georgian citizens are supporting, not only according to the survey, but literally. That's why all these unstoppable protests have begun. And Nino, like her other colleagues, is one of the faces of the protest, a person, intelligent, a dignified person who is always defending other rights, and now she needs our support. So that's why it's our obligation of ordinary citizens, activists, human rights defenders at home or abroad to continue the protest, to continue the resistance, unless all political prisoners are not freed. And plus, what is the request of the Georgian citizens? Release all political prisoners and the new elections. So this is a historical moment, and once again we are very thankful when independent experts and media outlets abroad also carrying this issue to raise the issue to our partners and colleagues to see what's really happening, because it's not only about the Georgians' democracy, Georgians' freedom and European future. It's also about other neighbors in other countries. When one democratic movement fails, of course, this will encourage other authoritarian leaders to crash the domestic democratic process, or those who have attempt to hijack the democratic process or democratic regimes. So that's why we are part of the global process, and we'll continue, we'll hold the lines, and we'll protest, and we will defend our political prisoners unless they are all freed.
Right, so like I said, this is not just an issue with Georgia, but also the future of the democratic process as well. Very important stuff going forward. Thank you so much for your input and insight. I really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thank you.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. For more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.